Subchapter 3.7. Based on experience, Rick knew that many times on missions of this type, egress from a target location can be a greater challenge than going in. As he and QR strode out of the ordnance room, there was a discussion about changing their escape route. They had planned on returning by the same route they had come, but the stadium's security personnel had gone on alert, and too many staffers had seen them. They needed an alternate path to the nearest exit. QR found one, but the new route, though maybe less populated, was longer than the way they had come. Their exit would take more time, but Rick felt it was worth it. He was bound to attract attention with the gun collection hanging from his shoulders and his pockets bulging. He had even gotten QR to grab a few items on their way out of the armory and made sure he was well packed with deadly goodies. To stay out of sight was paramount. But QR saw a small problem. This new route is taking us through a detention area. Okay, so there'll be guards. I can handle guards. QR lifted his gun, ready to use. That's what I'm afraid of. They don't know we're coming. We have the advantage of surprise. QR checked his handheld as they turned away from the catwalk, now making their way toward a staircase. Maybe not. They're reporting a data breach. The gig is up. No one saw us go in, did they? Who knows? You better delete those bogus files you made on us, Q. The ones with our pictures on them. Sooner or later, they're gonna figure it out. Wait until we're almost out. If I do it now, the scanners in this place will trigger alarms wherever we show our faces. Gotta pick up the pace. Rick broke into a jog, the best he could do with the rifles rattling against each other and the bone shakers rustling in his pockets, clinking and banging together. 6 agents comprised Team 3, 4 men and 2 women, all in nondescript clothing, their weapons concealed beneath jackets or cloaks. Catherine and Soto gathered them in a tight huddle outside the main entrance in the night air. Faint stars could be seen overhead, the bright ones that managed to burn through the thin, high, misty cloud cover. A tiny gibbous moon was rising in the east. Catherine saw no need to lower her voice. Agents, we are transferring surveillance to the spaceports and hangars outside the city. We stand a better chance if... Catherine cut herself off. She tilted her head as she intercepted transmitted communications. What is it? Soto asked. Internal chatter, Catherine said. Reports of a data breach. They have gone on security alert. What do you make of it? It's them. They're still here. They've hacked the records to find out who bought Sarah. Team 3, cover this entrance. Catherine spun back toward the auction house and made quick and determined strides. At the same time, she sent a message through her internal transmitter. All teams, cancel previous orders and return to the stadium at once. Suspects are still in the stadium. Set up surveillance posts at all exits. We'll catch them as they come out. Rick peeked around the corner in the service corridor and made a quick assessment of their route. That should be the detention area, QR said. I don't see any guards. All the way down to the end of the hall and turn left. Rick picked one of his newly acquired weapons, a spitter, and held it in both hands. Quick time it, let's go. Rick led the way, darting around the corner and making his way down the corridor. QR kept glancing back should anyone come up from behind. They passed a row of closed heavy doors on their right side, which they ignored. Rick kept his eyes on the end of the hall and watched for signs of threats. They approached a T intersection, another hall branching off to their left. Rick's eyes jumped from that intersection to the end of the hall, their destination, looking for any movements. And when the movement came, it appeared at the end of the hall where they were headed. A guard turned the corner and saw Rick and QR 40 feet away. He froze, unsure if the 2 men approaching posed any danger, but the sight of the guns in their hands removed all doubt. Hey, the guard shouted. He went for his sidearm and drew it. Rick took a mental snapshot of the situation before him. The next waypoint on their escape route, the intersection at the end of the hall, was too far and occupied by hostile guards. One of those guards was drawing his weapon. An unoccupied hall at a T intersection was to their immediate left, a short distance away. Rick made his choice. He pulled the trigger, a short 2-second burst, and the spitter spat. With a rate of 3,000 rounds per minute, the spitter showered the target area with blazing hot plasma. Not intended to be a precision weapon, the spitter did what was expected, suppressing enemy fire long enough to allow Rick and QR to take a new position, the branching hallway to the left. From the cover that the hall provided, they took a new evaluation. The sounds of shouts and heavy footfalls came down the hall where the guards were seen, convincing Rick that reinforcements had arrived. Rick stuck his spitter around the corner, let off another burst, and then popped his head out for a quick survey. After getting a glimpse, he jumped back to safety. Okay, there's at least 5 guys there, and I bet a lot more I couldn't see around the corner. Now what? Where does this go? Rick pointed down their hall and saw it turn to the left after about 30 feet. Does it go out? QR checked his handheld. Yeah, it does, but let's go. Rick jumped up and headed down the hall. QR followed Rick at a run. Rick! But Rick was already at the turn in the hall, darting around the corner, gun raised in both hands at full alert. Nobody's here, come on! QR chased after Rick. He caught up with him as the hall opened up to a cavernous storeroom, finding his partner standing with a new weapon in his hands, an energized pulse beam rifle. He had the gun up to his eye, scanning the storeroom left and right, up and down. Rick, there's something about this route you should know, QR said between breaths. Shouts and stomping feet came down the hall from which they had just come. Rick went into his pocket. Give me a second. He pulled out a fogger, twisted its locking ring to the open position, and punched the large button on top. Gotta slow him down. Rick tossed the fogger down the hall, then turned his eyes to the apparatus to his right. He ran for it. What we need is a good distraction. Split up their forces. QR thought to warn Rick again about the route, but an idea popped up. Hey, hold on. QR looked at his handheld and tapped a few commands. You want a distraction? You got one. A mustard-colored fog billowed up from the hallway. The sounds of marching feet stopped. The shouts faded to murmurs. Rick knew that when the luxury of vision was deprived, caution would prevail. Nobody wanted to walk into an ambush. Come on, get on the lift. Rick motioned for QR to join him on the lift as he went to the control panel. QR stepped on the lift with Rick, but with hands raised in a gesture of warning. Wait, don't touch anything. But Rick had already pulled the lever. The lift lurched into motion and began its descent. QR looked at Rick, out of words. You were saying something? Asked Rick. Do you have any idea where this lift stops at? Let me guess. The loading dock. QR stared at Rick. You knew? It's swarming with pirates. I've got an uncanny sense of direction. You've got an uncanny sense of chaos. Which is exactly what these clowns are experiencing. They're running in circles by now. Hey, what about that distraction? What did you do? I released the slaves. You what? I cracked into security's main control systems and shut down all barriers that held slaves, prisoners, or whoever's locked up. They're running loose right now. Thought that ought to keep 'em busy. Rick smiled. QR, did I ever mention that you're a genius? Once or twice, I believe. As QR spoke, to the shock and horror of several buyers, dozens of slaves stepped out of their cells in the preview gallery moments after the containment shields that had held them captive powered down. Some ran, others stood in a daze, paralyzed by fear or confusion. The guards, who had been ordered to assist with the disturbance near the computer room, were now confused about which problem had priority, the intruders or the escaping slaves. Which direction should they go? Many stopped to confer with their superiors. Another concern popped into Rick's mind. Hey, delete those files on us. Have you done that yet? Ah, that. QR tapped his handheld. Maybe it doesn't matter. Everyone's gone ass over heels by now. QR gave his device a last tap. Done. And Catherine watched, She monitored the transmissions from the auction house, referred to maps and floor plans that she had downloaded to her internal file system, and marveled at QR's ingenuity when he released the slaves to create a distraction. She also saw Rick and QR's phony staff IDs with their headshots. She saw them for a moment, then they were gone. Deleted. Catherine had to smile. Of course. How else could they get in and get close to one of the main terminals without raising suspicion? But getting out was a problem. They were having to fight their way out. She saw their progress by the incoming transmissions, reports on their sightings, and engagements. They were heading for the loading docks. She first sent a message to the local authorities, informing them of the development, then flipped frequencies to address her teams. All teams converge on north side exits. Focus on the loading docks. Catherine sent the communication as she rounded a corner. She had seen QR's hacks as clearly as if she had been standing next to him, watching over his shoulder. She could have easily interfered with the hack, could have reversed his changes and canceled his commands, but she gave him the liberty to act. If she impeded him, stadium security might capture them, and if anyone were going to arrest the two fugitives, it would be her. IPS, not the Dukisi. Let them escape. She will be there waiting for them when they break out.